Welcome, everybody. This is Paul Meyers from Clark Communications, and our podcast today is talking a little bit about the Business Center, Nipissing Parry Sound, and today I'm with Scott Murphy. Scott, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Paul. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Scott is a digital marketer and entrepreneur who is currently working with the Business Center, Nipissing Parry Sound here in North Bay, and he facilitates a pretty cool program called Digital Main Street. Scott, tell me, what is Digital Main Street?
What is Digital Main Street? Well, that's a big question because Digital Main Street in itself is a provincially funded program for small businesses in Ontario. Within Digital Main Street, there's a few different services they offer. So they have a digital service squad, which is how local BIAs and municipalities hire someone like me to help small businesses on the ground with setting up social media accounts, digital training, online presence audits, that sort of thing. Apart from that, they have a few different sort of grants. The first one is a e-commerce website grant called the Shop Here program. And that allows small businesses to get an e-commerce website where they can sell products, book appointments online, built for free through our team.
Okay.
And then they are also taught how to run the site. And it's a really good program because there's no barriers to entry. These services are all free. The cost associated with that program, though, is that the businesses do have like the ongoing hosting fees with that platform, which is usually either offered on Shopify, Square, or Equita, which is a new one by Lightspeed.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So heard of Lightspeed, but didn't hear about Equita.
Equita. Yeah, it's a new one. It's ECWIDA.
Okay.
Yeah. So that they're the platforms they're built on. So there is like ongoing like monthly costs with website maintenance, that sort of thing, payment processing fees, but there isn't that barrier to entry for people who are just starting out a business to think, oh, I want to be online, but I don't have any capital yet. It can get them online quickly. The second program is the Digital Transformation Grant. So that one is a grant designed to help small businesses with a brick and mortar presence digitally transform that brick and mortar presence to add an online component, whether they're having an online store selling products, maybe they've just they've already got a website and they're looking to enhance the website or hire a digital marketer, or they might be looking to hire a photographer, a videographer, invest in new software that allows them to do business better. A range of things they can invest in there. And that one's a $2,500 grant, the Digital Transformation Grant. So I've got to be very clear about the different words that are used because it's a little bit confusing sometimes. But so we've got the Shop Here program for websites. We've got the Digital Transformation Grant. That one's the $2,500 program for brick and mortar businesses. Then there's the CDAP program. CDAP stands for Canadian Digital Adoption Program. And that program is federally funded. So that's the only federally funded part of this program. The rest are provincial.
Gotcha.
And that one has a similar initiative to the Digital Transformation Grant. However, you don't need a brick and mortar presence to get it. There's other eligibility requirements, like the main ones are to have earned over $30,000 in the previous financial year for your business, or to have a full-time employee.
Gotcha.
And that one also allows the business to have access to an advisor to help implement that e-commerce plan that they get. And it's a $2,400 grant.
Okay.
And that's the gist of those programs. But a lot of what I do day to day is more on the digital service squad side. So helping the businesses basically learn about social media, content creation, what they currently are doing online that could be improved, learning maybe how to edit videos, how to edit photos, how to schedule content. And so I find that really rewarding. And then the Digital Transformation Grant, I also work on as well with helping people get those applications in, making sure they're filled out correctly, speaking with them about, okay, if you're going to be approved for this grant, what would be the best area for you to be investing right now for your online presence? Because it is all digital, like it's not anything to do with if they're looking to buy a new factory or they need like a car sticker wrapped with their branding or anything like that. Yeah. It's all digital. So it's more about how can we improve the online presence? Where's the areas that you're currently lacking in?
Gotcha. I noticed, coming through COVID and being in the same sort of space as far as helping people digitally, there was a lot of businesses struggling online because they didn't have an online presence. Tell me a little bit about that and what you guys do to bring that to the table for them, because I think small business owners are overwhelmed when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And they look to, specialists like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came on to the program during 2021 in September, and it was still, COVID was pretty big then, and a lot of businesses were either open with reduced hours or still kind of thinking, okay, how do I pivot my business model, because we didn't know when these regulations would slow down or when everything would open back up. So when I came in, there was definitely a lot of people saying, I need to get online. I need to start selling products online. Like, how can I use social media to grow my business presence, that sort of thing.
Right.
And I basically was working with a lot of them to get kind of a sense of where they're at right now. A lot of businesses, as you know, Paul, they have a different circumstance depending on how many years they've been in business, their business type, their industry, their team, if they're a sole proprietor, if they've got like a whole team of employees under them. And they all have different circumstances. So some might have existing websites, some might have no websites, some might not even know how to use a computer or even like navigate a browser. That's like a lot more common than I would have thought. But it's a thing that they've got to kind of adapt to now, especially because in 2023, e-commerce, having an online presence, if you're not there, you're missing out on a massive opportunity to reach these customers.
Love it. You guys do some awesome work. The thing that I always find interesting is when a business isn't finding success online, what do you recommend? What's your go-to when there's not that success that they thought they'd see when they start posting content, or they're engaging on social, but they're just not seeing that success? Where do you push them to?
The first thing I do is to try and find out why.
Right.
Because there's always a reason. There is always a reason. It can even go back to the business model not even being a viable business from the start.
Right.
Where they've been turning their wheels on social media for 5 years and they're not making any online sales. And you're like, well, is the problem that people don't know you exist? Or is the problem that you haven't communicated the value of your products and the benefits your business can provide your customers properly?
Right. Yeah.
And so often it's actually usually the latter, the former with the online presence. It's not usually the business viability. So it's usually, okay, let's see what you're doing online right now. Are you present? Let's do an audit of your website, see if it's actually appearing in our search engines, understanding what platforms they're on and if that is actually where their customers are active. That's a big thing because a lot of businesses have this default idea where, I need to be on everything. I need to have a website.
Right.
I need to be on Facebook.
Omnipresent, every channel.
I'm not everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, slow down. Like, you're one person wearing 20 hats in your business and you can't be spending 3 hours a day making TikTok videos. So it's like about trying to get them to realize, okay, as a business owner, if I'm going to allocate my resources, my time, my energy, my money into digital marketing or marketing as a whole, how much of that should go towards digital and then how much of that should be put towards either search engine optimization, updating my website, writing blogs, creating social media content, YouTube videos, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I try to get them to kind of let me know where they're at with that, because some people, even they're running like part-time businesses. And so it's like even less resources you can really be putting into marketing when it's a part-time business.
Right.
So yeah, it really depends in summary, but I find one thing is if the business is very busy all the time, then they really neglect the marketing side, which I think is a bit of a flaw long-term for the business.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's interesting where, we hear a lot of people online talk about you've got to be on every channel. You've got to be omnipresent. And it's like, well, hold it now. Where is your customer avatar? Where is your client? That's where you want to be.
Yeah.
And your client, may be a 55-year-old. So chances are they might not be on TikTok, where you need to focus a little bit somewhere else. So I think you bring up a good point. You don't need to spend 3 hours on TikTok if maybe your customer's not there.
Yeah.
and to allocate it appropriately. So interesting. You mentioned there's funding available, and we talked a little bit about that briefly, but can you just tell me the levels, the amounts? So you just say $2,500 from the Digital Main Street program?
So that's from the Digital Transformation Grant.
DTG.
$2,500
Okay.
to invest in digitally transforming your physical business.
Gotcha. Okay.
The Shop Here program, that one doesn't have a funding component, but you get the e-commerce website built for you at no cost. And then the only cost associated with that for the small business is the platform fees of hosting the website, like on Shopify, Square, that can vary usually anywhere between $0 to $80, depending on the functionality or the customizations they're looking for. And that's like a monthly fee, but that's not through us. That's kind of just between the business and that platform provider.
Gotcha.
The CDAP program, the Canadian Digital Adoption Program, that's the other funding program. So that one's $2,400.
24. Okay.
And that's for businesses that don't necessarily need to have a brick and mortar commercial location. They can be home based. They can be based anywhere as long as it's in Ontario.
Okay.
All these businesses have to be in Ontario.
Ontario-wide.
So that's sorry to everyone in Alberta or
no, this is good.
Wherever you live.
And this would qualify for part-time businesses as well as full-time businesses? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. You can be, if it's a part-time business, great. If it's a full-time business, great. There is a limit of one grant per location per business owner. So if you're a franchise owner and you've got like, you're kind of a big franchise, you've got over 50 staff, you wouldn't be eligible. But if you're a business where maybe you've got one brick and mortar location and you've just opened up a second one and you've got under 50 employees under you, you'd still be eligible for both of these grants.
Okay.
And all the businesses, regardless of their location or their employee count, they're all eligible for the general Digital Main Street training through the digital service squad that I do.
Okay.
But it's just the grants in particular, they have a few more eligibility requirements, being mainly the location, and then the CDAP, which was the 2,400, was the brick and mortar presence not being a factor, but they need to have a full-time employee or they need to have made over $30,000 in the previous financial year.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's 3 levels, 2,500, 2,400, and then the Shop Here is the e-commerce website that's built for them.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a service. That's awesome. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So how does one apply for Digital Main Street program? Where do we go? What do we do?
Yeah. So the simplest way to apply would be to go to digitalmainstreet.ca.
Okay.
That's the Digital Main Street website where you can register your business. And that's a great little registration funnel they've built where the business, when they register, they actually also are completing a digital business audit of their own business as they register. And so once they complete that registration process, they're taken to a dashboard, which provides them a breakdown of their online presence and also gives them recommendations based on the information they put in when registering their business.
Great idea.
On how to grow that business organically or through hiring a vendor like, you know, hiring Paul or hiring Clark Marketing or whoever to help them invest in that area. And so that's the process to get registered. Once you're registered, and that takes 5 minutes or so, from your dashboard, there's a section for grants, and it will show you all the grants that you can apply for. And so right now there's the Shop Here, there's the Digital Transformation Grant, and there's the CDAP program.
Okay. It's all on the dashboard once they register.
All from the dashboard, yeah.
Awesome. I know I was speaking to a business owner the other day, and he had a real hard time even thinking about filling out the form and doing it online. So I know we had a conversation and I put you in touch with him or I put him in touch with you. Is that an option for people if they're struggling or running into an issue? Can they reach out to you or someone just for a little bit of help?
Yeah, absolutely. That's basically half of my job is helping people who they've started an application, but they don't know how to finish it. Or they've started an application and they've just got too busy where they're like, I don't have time for this. And they just forget about it. And they've got an application where maybe they just need to submit one form or they just need to spend like an hour or so with me to help them get that through the final stages, and then they can get the funding. But it is an issue where businesses are so busy where they can't even think about grant funds or anything like that because they're so focused on their customers, which is great. But I think there is a reward there in the sense that if you can take a step back and think about all the funding programs that are out there for small businesses in Ontario, not just Digital Main Street, but there is a ton, especially if you're in certain industries, there's more funding than others.
Right.
But even just at the Business Centre Nipissing Parry Sound, like we have the Starter Company program, which is a program where it's completely free to be a part of. You just have to be a new or existing business of up to 5 years of being in operation. And you can work with our business development advisor. You can develop a business plan and pitch to a committee for a $5,000 grant.
Okay.
And that one expands the business. And that's not digital. That can be buying a new piece of equipment. That can be going towards signage on the building. Like that can be anything that's a permanent fixture to expand that business.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to talk too much about other programs, but the Business Centre's other program, the Summer Company program, is great because that's for youth entrepreneurs aged between, I believe it's 15 to 29. And that is awesome because they get to learn business basics from experts in the field, and they get to develop a business plan and run a seasonal business for the summer on whatever they're interested in, and they get $3,000 in funding to help them start that business. And that can be allocated towards a computer, or if they're a baker, maybe they need an oven or something.
Yeah.
So it's that's just a few of the programs I'm really familiar with, but I know there's many out there from many organizations. So I recommend if people have time, check it out online, Ontario Business Grants, have a look, and they're there.
That's awesome. I know many of our customers or potential customers we speak to, I'm always talking about your programs because the money's there. Why not use it? It's a lift. It's help. And it's so important nowadays that businesses embrace online. I talk to a lot of business owners, and you perhaps probably do too, that just don't like technology. They don't like Facebook or Instagram or whatever it might be. But they really need to be there because that's where the audience is. That's where their potential is. So it's just kind of getting them over that a little bit of hurdle. So this has been really good. So Scott, you're everywhere on social. If people want to look for you, they can find you at Scott Murphy DTS, which is digital technology specialist. And again, on the Digital Main Street, it's simply just digitalmainstreet.ca. For more information. So Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else you want to add? Did we cover what we thought we wanted to cover, or did I miss some things?
I think we've covered all things Digital Main Street, but I think thank you. Firstly, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. If anyone is looking to create some really good content, Paul has actually built this awesome studio space in North Bay, Ontario, and it's awesome. As you can hear, the audio's crystal clear.
I love it.
So
I love it.
I reckon hit him up if you can. If you're looking for a podcast solution, or maybe to develop some online courses, or to record maybe some training modules for your employees, it'd be a wonderful resource to take advantage of. But no, I'm excited. We've got a lot going on here at Digital Main Street and the Business Centre. I'm working with too many clients right now to keep track of, to be honest. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you coming out. I know you guys at the Business Centre are doing an incredible job. Jennifer, yourself, thank you for all you do for our community and who else you're working with in Ontario. So we appreciate that. So again, thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks.